Hi, I'm Dion Ferrier,
And I'm Chad Townsend.
and welcome to the third installment of Hex Weekly. Welcome everyone. This week we'll be talking about some lore, a new project we've been working on, our new artwork, and of course, cards of the week.
So, starting with this week's beginning topic, Dion, is there any races that you're really excited to talk about?
Actually, I do. The race that we'd like to cover today is going to be the Shin'Hare. Alright, now the first thing you need to know about the Shin'Hare is their key is their reproduction rate. Because they can make so many of these things, and I say things because the Shin'Hare refer to most of each other as objects, not as people.
Exactly. From what we've seen, they almost don't put any value in their own life unless they're at the top of the pyramid.
Right, and unfortunately the only way they end up at the top of the pyramid is by chance, because at birth every Shin'Hare is given a specific role. Unfortunately for most of these little guys, most of them are made to be peasants. Peasants are mostly just used for shock troops and to be sacrificed for forging katanas with blood magic.
Sounds like a fantastic life for these little critters.
Now the main role that the Shin'Hare have played on the Hex history is the fact that they started, I'm sorry, not what they started. When they found out about the Coyote, they immediately started attacking and trying to take them prisoners to figure out how to change the weather. Not only did they do that, they also started sending raids all the time into the Feral Root Woods where the elves lived. So essentially they started two wars at the same time because they're so aggressive.
Starting both a war with the Coyote and elves, the Shin'Hare seemed to be able to hold back against them, but once the elves joined, they joined with humans. This is what drove the Shin'Hare underground. So after the Shin'Hare were drove underground, they accepted an alliance with both the Venin and the Necrotic. The Venin taught them the art of blood magic, and the Necrotic are going to give them a second chance at reassaulting the world that they were driven away from.
Alright, so that wraps up all that we know about the Shin'Hare race. They got some interesting characteristics about them. And now it's time to move on to our new project we've been working on. Now we got a few requests on and questions for that matter on our review system, how we score cards of value, as well as if we could do more cards every week. Unfortunately, Chad and I both work full time, so the more cards a week isn't going to happen.
Fortunately for you, we've been working on a spreadsheet project that will end up covering all the PvP cards that have been released up to this point.
Now, when you see these point systems, none of this is set in stone. This is just our opinion on it so far. And what we really would like is for you to look at the system, tell us what cards you don't agree with so much, or maybe you do and you just want to see how we got the value out of it, and we'll do a review on that card.
And this way we'll end up covering the cards that you guys really want to see. Now we know that by releasing this card list, there's going to be some conflict. We want great discussions about our point system, but we really want to refrain from a bunch of hating, so we're going to kind of implement two systems here. You want to explain that, Dion?
Sure thing. The first system is going to be our rating that we give it personally. The second is we're working on a website that will, not necessarily the website, but possibly even the spreadsheet, for users to give their own value they give on a card. And what it's going to do is it's going to give an average of the value of each card and give it a user rating to compare against ours.
So far, this idea isn't going to play so much into constructed decks, even though we'd like to see some comments about that. But it's mostly going to play into drafting, where in drafting it's harder to synergize. So it might be in your best interest to take cards that are naturally stronger than others. Another great factor about this chart that kind of incorporates into the drafting system is that when it comes to selecting cards later in a draft match, and there's obviously no cards that can help you, maybe let's say the last 5 or 6, it might be in your best interest to start pulling cards with a higher value to keep those out of your opponent's deck.
Any other ideas you guys have for the spreadsheet, things we could add, things that you don't like, things that you do like, let us know. It's still very easy to change, and we'd like to adapt it to the community's wants.
We'll have a link to the spreadsheet at the bottom of this video. Please leave your comments on it. It's not done yet. We've been putting a lot of time and effort into valuing commons, which are going to be a big part of draft right now. So please give us your feedback, and we'll be patching it every week with more cards.
Time for cards of the week. Chad, it's your turn to do your card first.
Sure thing, Dion. The card of the week that I've chosen is Inner Conflict. It's a 2-cost diamond card with a threshold of 1. This card is a basic action, and its text state, target troop gets permanent, this troop cannot attack or block. I hate to name drop with this card, but it's an exact copy of Pacifism from Magic, but that doesn't stop the card from being incredibly awesome, and I think it fits into this game really well. Unlike the other cards that we have reviewed, this card's a little simpler. I mean, it is a common, but it's going to be incredibly useful in draft. It has the potential to lock down huge monsters with little to no cost on your part. The reason I said this would be such a great draft card is in the fact that you can lock down incredibly large monsters for little to no cost. Let's just say that you're in a draft tournament and someone is just smoking all the competition because their deck contains a card such as they pulled a Jadem, which is he's a giant dragon. He's got a cost of 6, a threshold of 2. He's a 4/4 beast. Well, he's actually a dragon, but he's a beast. He has flying, and when you play a non-resource card, Jadem gets permanent plus X, where X is this card's cost. In a draft, a card like this would be incredible. If you got this dragon into play, he's got great cost, he's got a lot of damage, he ramps really quickly, especially in draft format where you're able to play 6-cost cards very easily. Cards like Inner Conflict will be great to just lock this card down. When your opponent plays this, you play Inner Conflict, and now you have little to no worries over this giant dragon that they were hoping they're going to win the whole match with. Dion, do you see any cards that Inner Conflict works well with or helps to combat against?
No, I don't see any particular combos or anything like that. But the sideboard potential for a shutdown on major key cards is amazing. Due to its low threshold, you can throw it into a dual-colored deck without much worry. Which, as we all know, in draft mode, is almost mandatory to have dual decks.
Good point, Dion. This card definitely doesn't have to be run main board, and it could be a really efficient sideboard card. One of the major things you want to watch out for when using this card is you don't want to use it on cards that have passive abilities. You want to use it on creatures that have such abilities as Rage and other abilities that are procced when attacking or blocking. Cards with Inspire, it's good to lock them down, but you're not going to really want to use it against them because their passive will still tick, giving more creatures that come into play the Inspire ability. Overall, a great card in draft, but for standard, it might be more of a sideboard option. Dion, would you like to explain your card of the week?
My card this week is going to be Wild Growth. Another card that's not really that highly regarded due to it being a common. Wild Growth, however, offers some really good potential. Wild Growth, first of all, is a 1-cost, 1-wild threshold quick action. It says target troop gets +4 attack, +4 defense for this turn. This is going to turn combat steps around. Your opponent may think they have the upper hand and swing in with some key cards, but blocking with a small troop while putting Wild Growth on it will easily destroy that. This also has multiple uses in offense as well as defense, in the fact that if your opponent sets up blockers that would normally kill a unit, you could easily kill them instead. Or if a unit gets through in attacking, you can play quick action to do an extra 4 damage to their health without them realizing it's going to happen.
Good point, Dion. If even if like maybe one of your little Shin'Hare sneaks through their defensive line, equipping this to it for a quick action, I mean that could almost be a fourth of their health pool.
That could even be the finishing blow if need be. Now I'm going to go over some of the synergies I see with this card as well as the combo. The synergy with Life Drain is absolutely incredible because it'll just give you an extra 4 health at the cost of 1, as well as that extra damage on your opponent. A good combo I see with this is Bunjitsu, the champion that we talked about last week. His ability states that pay 2 blood resources and 4 charges, exhaust 2 target troops you control. They transform into an abomination with attack equal to their combined attack and defense equal to their combined defense. Now late game, what this is going to allow you to do, if you have 1 or even 2 maybe Wild Growths in your hand, you can play Wild Growth on 2 of your Shin'Hare, making them both 5/5s, and then combine them to create a 10/10 permanent. Because the card simply states that you attack or combined, the plus attack and defense will not be removed after combining. Chad, any thoughts on this?
Well, one of my ideas with this card is, let's say you're in your second match versus your opponent, and it comes down to you having a 1/1 on the board, and your opponent has a 4/4. One of the interesting things that you can do with Wild Growth is, if your opponent knows that you have them in your deck, you can maybe save 1 of your mana, even though you might not actually have a Wild Growth in your hand. I mean, this could really change how your opponent looks at your board. I mean, if he knows that you have the chance to pump up one of your 1/1 creatures to a 5/5, he might not swing in with one of his bigger units. If any of you are interested in a more in-depth analysis of our view on these cards, just check out the spreadsheet. We gave each of them a points value, and we'd love to hear your opinions on it.
This week's winner of the 1-pack giveaway is Willadin, at least that's his YouTube subscriber name. So Willadin, if you're listening, send us a message, or we'll try getting a hold of you, and we'll make sure you get your pack at the game release. We also owe a big thanks to Hex Datamine. If you haven't seen the site already, it's incredible. You'll find every card that's released so far with its description and easy search options. I can't really thank you guys enough over there. Good work. Keep it up.
Absolutely. These guys are doing a great job, and I've wasted plenty of hours already using their new draft system. It's pretty cool.
So we'll provide you a link, and you guys should go check it out.
Well, guys, this has been our show. My name's Chad.
I'm Dion.
And this is Hex Weekly.